How long have you been involved within the Fed action, Micah?
Oh my God, for a long freaking time, and constantly, probably for like the last 5 years, 6 years.
What are some of the different ways you've fought?
Well, in the mainstream politics, trying to support and advance candidates and contact representatives about legislation, reach out to people, talk to them about the Federal Reserve directly. Out here on the ground, talk to people as well as motorists passing by, trying to get a moment of their time to show that there's something going on here. So when they start wondering about it, they connect the dots. But yeah, for some time, ever since I started understanding what was really going on with the way they manipulate the money supply and how that's a violation of everybody's civil liberties.
What kind of solutions do you see to stopping the Fed?
Turning away from them as much as we can for a store of value. Finding other assets besides Federal Reserve notes to store our value in would be number one. Removing them from having the authority to be the sole legal store of value for the most part in this country, that'd go a long way. So auditing and ending the Federal Reserve System as like the monetary system of this country would be good. People say that sounds terrifying, but the country had something else for the majority of its existence, all the way up till the advent of the Fed. And then even once the Fed was around, we still had silver currency from the Treasury all the way up till 64. So when you look at, I think minimum wage around 64 was $1 an hour. And that translates to something around $22 an hour in silver quarters for 4 silver quarters today. So I think it shows that you need to look at like the dollar and not really the wage per hour. I think that people don't see how deep the system of manipulation goes with the Federal Reserve. Once you have a private banking cartel able to set interest rates, loan money to the government, it allows politicians to finance through these bonds, wars that they wouldn't be able to justify otherwise. And the list goes on, and it's such a pervasive problem. That's why I kind of singular it out as one of the top problems that freedom-minded people could address.
What do you think about the way the situation is in the European Union with like riots in Greece and Spain like that because of economic downfall? Do you think that's a possible outcome here in the United States if we continue on this system?
I think we're a cry from the riots because it takes a lot to get your average American up and willing to even contact their congressman or talk to their neighbor about anything like this, which is really sad given all the freedoms we're supposed to have, that people don't exercise it. But I think what it boils down to is as people start seeing their leaders, their so-called leaders, their selected officials, if you were, making choices that cut from the people but don't cut from corporatist interest and interests such as Monsanto, GM, GE, Goldman Sachs, when they see their interests never being endangered even by their own poor choices, yet they see people's Social Security cut, they see food aid cut, etc., they start to say, hey, look, they're taking from the average people but not doing anything to them. Honestly, I think that when that happens, you'll start to hear more outcry, but even that's not enough because we probably shouldn't even be in the food or the corporatist interests. It's not the proper role of government in my mind. I'm sure other people have other ideas, but I think that getting involved in both those camps has allowed politicians and politicians to sell us a bill of goods. And, people end up divided on one side or another saying, if we just stopped all these welfare cases, everything would be fine. And you got someone on the other side saying, if we just stopped all this corporate greed, we'd be fine. And little do they see how they feed each other. So the Fed's one of the main culprits in that, allowing the government to spend most in wars, in corporate bailouts, as well as, overspending in, I guess what you could call welfare and WIC programs, things like that.
What else you got to say?
Oh, it's bigger than we can all deal with. Just try to deal with it in your own little way, learn more about it, find out that it is unconstitutional, that there's a reason those guys put that in the Constitution, even if back then they were only looking after defending their freedom. As the definition of man has been expanded, so does the formula in that document, the Constitution. Nowhere has it been repealed. It's just you know, based on precedents that we have this Federal Reserve System now. Nowhere has the Constitution been amended to take Article 1, Section 8, and Article 1, Section 10 away. You know, Marbury versus Madison says any law repugnant to the Constitution is null and void.